Hey guys, welcome to episode 57 of the At the Coffee Table podcast. I'm Jason Clank, your host, and I am joined today by Jessica Dennehy. And this is a real pleasure of mine. Jessica has become quite the social media influencer, especially on Instagram, and a lot of what she does. And she has a really unique story. So that's why I had her on the podcast today. But just to give you some background, Jessica is a best-selling author. She's a coach. She's a legal strategist. She's a business owner and a speaker, and just about everything that encompasses being an entrepreneur. So, Jessica, thank you for joining me here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here.
Now, you're down in Long Island, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so she's downstate. I'm upstate, the real upstate in central New York, not Albany. So, Jess, I wanted to kind of dive into your background a little bit because it's super interesting to me how you went from attorney to business owner and a barbershop business owner to yoga instructor to writing books and being a business coach and coaching that you're doing now. Kind of give everyone an idea of your journey up to this point and what and just to talk, just to make it make sense, because the title of the podcast episode is Pivot and Slay, which is just took directly from Jessica's current book. And it's everything you're about to hear is about pivoting. And it's a lot of what I've talked about here in the last year because of all the pivots that we have all had to do.
Yeah.
So talk about these pivots and your journey.
Yeah, it's funny because I love Friends, the series, and on one of the episodes, they have that moment where they're trying to move a couch up the stairs and they're yelling pivot. And ever since then, this is many years now, I've always used this word. It became quite a buzzword last year, but to me, it's something that I use authentically all the time because I think it's more purposeful than they give it credit for over the pandemic. Because to me, a pivot really is a really purposeful movement to get around a hurdle so that you could still achieve success. And we've all done that to a certain extent during the pandemic. And I realized that I have been doing that for quite a long time in my own life. And although my background might seem really disjointed, it's all interconnected and has led me to this exact moment. My dream as a kid was to be a lawyer. I always wanted to be a lawyer, and I went to law school. I barely got in, which I talk about in my book. And I did that for 10 years. I worked on Wall Street as a New York Stock Exchange regulator. I love that job. It was great. It was exciting. They put you right into the fire, which is right up my alley. And they let me do depositions and hearings right away, which most young attorneys takes years to experience that. So that was awesome. But at some point I had my daughter, and my husband at the time was out of work, and he had this great business idea. And I was not an entrepreneur prior to this, but I had a lot of business experience from Wall Street. And we were kind of like, let's just go for it. Because I was tired of working 80 hours for someone else. And I wanted to kind of start developing an exit strategy from my 9 to 5, so to speak. That was way longer than 5 o'clock. So we, like any good business, filling the need in a marketplace is what really makes you successful. So at the time, there were no high-end barbershops around. This is like 9 years ago. Now the barbering industry has become quite a thing, but back then it wasn't. So we opened up a luxury barbershop. It took off, and we started to scale it. And I left Wall Street to help scale the business and become more involved in the business. Because at first I was really just an investor, and I was still working a lot on Wall Street. And, we would talk about business strategies, but my ex was really the person in the day-to-day. So 3 years later, when the business took off, I left my job, which was a safety net and a scary time to take a risk and go out there in the world. And we just grew that business, and I've learned so much. We scaled to 3 shops. We sold one. We're about this year about to open up another one. And I've learned so much through the years. And what I realized over the pandemic is I could really help people. Business owners were struggling with what to do and how to survive. And I bring such a unique perspective because I'm a lawyer, and not many coaches are. I don't know of any others actually that are. So I bring a really unique perspective. And the thing I like to talk about the most, which isn't very lawyerly, is mindset. because I think that in any business and in any entrepreneur experience, your mindset is everything. And if you are telling yourself you can't, then you won't. If you're willing to have the confidence to take a risk and maybe fail, you're
Right.
going to see how far you can go. And I think that is the most important thing that anyone can work on is self-development and mindset.
Right. You know, it's funny because you hit on a lot of the topics that I've been, you know, hitting on myself recently, because I do some coaching work with Jared James Coaching. And, you know, a lot of what I've tried to infuse into it is not all about the real estate business. It's, you know, your own personal growth and your growth mindset, and not only, you know, trying to grow whatever business that you're attempting to scale, but, you know, improving your mind, improving your physical health, and wrapping it all together in a nice little ball in order to progress forward. And, you know, a lot of folks, they kind of they kind of look at it and they're, what do you mean I gotta, you know, I gotta keep learning or work out or what? So do you see any typical kind of pushbacks when you're infusing that within your coaching?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I think I find that people who really want to coach already understand that they need
Okay.
help. And, you know, we all kind of need help in some areas of our life. So if you're the kind of person that's like, I don't need that, I don't think you're being honest with yourself, because we could all be improving in some way. And I think the people who get coaches are really the people that understand that this is not a destination event. We are on a journey where we are constantly evolving. And in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion, and what my book is really about, is that if you are not willing to adapt, you are sure to fail, because life, not just business, but life is going to be throwing hurdles at you nonstop.
Right.
And
Right.
adapting is the only way to survive. And we've seen that just through evolution itself, right? So
Right.
I think, you know, people, I think the biggest problem I see is not that people are unwilling to do the work or to grow, but they don't understand how to manifest it, because when we talk about mindset, it's so intangible. And it's hard for people to be aware and to start to gain awareness. And I think that's the biggest struggle. So what I've done with the people that I coach is start them off in the physical, because I think
Mm-hmm.
we can all understand physical body stuff. And for me, my
Yeah.
journey started there too. I was going through a
Right.
rough time in my life. I found yoga. I hated
Mm-hmm.
yoga the first time I did it, but I went back to it to try it again in this difficult time. And what I found was a lifeline, because I understood, like, oh, if I try to do this really difficult thing physically, my mind is now focused on one purpose. So
Mm-hmm.
when we're nervous and our mind is chattering, that's mindset. That's, you know, anxiety. And
Mm-hmm.
people don't understand, and I'm including myself because I didn't, how to
Right.
stop the train. So I
Right.
always teach my entrepreneurs to connect it to something physical, either like pushing yourself a little harder at the gym or
Mm-hmm.
starting to do something physical if you don't have that as part of your daily routine, because
Right.
your mind will be distracted by, and not distracted, that's the wrong word. Your mind will be refocused on this one thing, which is like, how the heck am I going to get through this physical activity? And you'll
Right.
see that the mind chatter will slow down because you have to concentrate. So I think when you connect those two things, it helps people have more understanding. Because if you just throw things out like mindset and meditation, it's like scary and overwhelming, and people
Right.
don't understand it. So you have to
Yeah.
just, as a coach, I think, connect the dots for people, and that's a good way.
Yeah. I think that, you know, one of the pieces of content I'm pretty sure that I saw you put out on Instagram the other day was talking about, you know, quieting the noise, getting rid of the noise. And I have heard other social media influencers talking about that. And I guess everybody has their different way of, you know, kind of tuning that out. It's a challenge for me because, you know, when you're going 100 miles an hour all day long, it's really tough to kind of tune that out. And there's a lot to be said for, like you said, doing a physical activity, doing exercise, maybe meditating, doing yoga. Because it's at the end of the day, if you don't, I have found that you don't have your own peace of mind. It's really difficult to get through each day and feel like you feel accomplished each day. Am I close?
Yeah. Yeah, because to me, if you are multitasking all day, you're really just not focused all day. That's what that means to me, like when someone says that. So I think there's a misconception that to quiet the mind is like all day my mind is quiet and tranquil, but no, that's not realistic, But what it is if you, like, I start out in the morning, I'm a morning person, so I start out doing exercise in the morning and I push myself a little bit because it'll focus my mind. So think about it. If you're like trying to lift 400 pounds off the floor, I don't do this, by the way, but as an example, you're going to be focused on lifting this thing because you're going to need every ounce of energy. So your mind has one thing to think about. That's relaxing because your mind is normally thinking about 100 things. So you've essentially focused onto one thing for 30 minutes, 40 minutes while you're doing your exercise. That transfers to your day. So it's not that you'll have one blissful thought all day, but that you've quieted your mind enough so that it could actually like come out of the weeds and be like, hey, life. All right, what we got next? And then you sit down and do work and suddenly you're feeling a little more focused and a little more like energized for that purpose. And that's quieting the mind. It's not an all day event. You're going to have to constantly be redirecting yourself. It's work. It's work, but it's doable. Sure. And I think if we like start to work in smaller increments, it's not so overwhelming for people.
Right. No, that's super great stuff. Now, when I first saw you, it was on Thomas Keenan's podcast, and you have it now. Are you part of his coaching business as far as your own personal coach through Thomas, or is it more of a business relationship that extends into your businesses?
Well, I have my own coaching company, Pivot and Slay, where I offer one-on-one coaching services, and I have workshops that I run. And I also help people form entities and do trademark applications and stuff like that. So that's my own business, Pivot and Slay. I have become friends with Thomas. It started out, I was a lawyer for him for a specific purpose in his former business, and we developed a friendship. And now I am part of his mastermind networking group, Apex. And Breakthrough Academy. Now he works for them full time, but I am a member of them and I do network with them. But I'm not a coach for them. I do coaching through my own company.
Your own company, right?
Yeah.
So I always find it interesting when you have, you try to run a business or scale businesses, but you also have family to worry about and all these extra forces imposing on you. And as a mom, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, how difficult is time management for you when you have the kids and the family and the business and everything that goes on in your life?
It's a challenge, and that's why it's so important to focus. Actually, I was just on a coaching call with a client yesterday talking about this, because we don't treat our family like a client, but we should, because if you think about it, I've dedicated, you're not my client, right? But like I've dedicated this time to your podcast. I'm not answering my phone. I'm not checking my email. I am present for you because that is what my calendar has told me I am doing right now, right? We don't give that same attention to our loved ones. And I think that's when we start to feel like we are failing. And really, it's just about discipline, right? Because if I had a coaching client from 2 to 2:30, sorry, kids, but this isn't your time. This is my time with my client, and I have to be present. In that same way, I have to do that for my children, and I have to carve out the time to be there and present. And the only way that you're going to be able to feel like you're winning in all these areas of your life is to be really respectful of your time. And create boundaries with your clients, with your coworkers, with your children, with your family about what that time means. So this is my time to do X, Y, Z, and I'm going to honor my boundary and do what I'm supposed to do during that time. And so I don't like this whole balance thing, because I think balance insinuates like every day is going to be balanced. For me, it's a juggling act. And I think that kind of gives you like a good picture of how difficult it is, to keep all the balls in the air. So I sit down with my people, my clients, and I tell them, what's the 5 most important things in your life? So for me, it's my kids, my barbershop business, my pivot and slay business, my fitness, and my relationship. And I have to make sure that I am giving enough love to each of those things throughout the week. So there will be days where my kids don't get as much love as my business, but then there will be like later in the week, my kids will get more love than my business. And at the end of the week, has it evened out? Have I touched on all the major things in my life that need TLC? And that's how I keep all of that going. But it's not easy. It doesn't really get easier. I think you get in a rhythm, but every day is still a struggle to stay on task and stay disciplined so that you can have those present moments. And it's worked out because I used to spend a lot more time with my kids, but not as present. Now I have maybe less time because I have this new business, but the time I spend with them is very focused and purposeful, and I think more meaningful.
Yeah, because I always feel like I juggle a lot of balls in the air, and time management is difficult. But then I look at some colleagues that don't manage time at all, and it's very reactive to, do I have to be with a client, or do I have to work now, or the family needs me out, the kids need me, and it always seems like the wheels are coming off the track. And so I sit back and go, well, geez, maybe I'm not so bad at this.
Listen, the fact that you're even thinking about it shows that you're on the ball, because this awareness is the first step, right? You become aware, and then you can actually control it. But if you're not controlling your schedule, your schedule is controlling you. And don't we all want to be in the driver's seat? Like, I know I do. I want to be able to control the way my day flows. That's the reason I left my 9 to 5. If I wanted to be controlled by someone else, I'd just stay over there and let them control me. But I want my freedom. I want the day to run the way I want it to run. And the only way to do that is to take back your control and stick to the plan.
Yeah, no, I love that, because it's just, I think a lot of people struggle with that, and they want to do more, but they can't, and they just don't feel like, I time block every hour of my day just to stay and give the right focus to the right things. Some days it works super well, other days not so much.
Yeah, that's natural, because not every day will be perfect. But I think taking the step to structure your day, for the most part, when people feel like the day's gotten away from them, it's because they didn't control it. They let it control them. And I think you can work more efficiently. You could be more efficient. And if you do a time study, like Thomas's book, Unfuck Your Business, shows you how to do a time study. Yeah. If you do a time study, you'll see areas in your day where you were not efficient. And if you just clean that up, you get so much more time out of the day, because we all get the same amount of time. It's just what we do with it that matters.
Yeah. Yep. All the same 24 hours. So high-end barbershop, I want to go back to that for a second, because that's not anything that's familiar, up here where I'm at in New York. So what comprises a high-end barbershop?
Well, where I live, the 2 options used to be a woman's salon or like a tiny little dingy shop that hasn't been updated since 1950.
Oh, okay.
Well, what we did was we elevated it and made it a man's place with manly decor and, a manly feel. So it's not like being in a salon, but you get that high end feeling that you do in a salon. So a little bit extra care, hot towels, everything is clean and uniform and, comfy. And not just like, oh, you're in this like crickety old chair and like it's ripped.
That's exactly what it. Now, mind you, I haven't been in a barbershop in a long, long time. But what I remember is, a dark, dingy place where you got an old guy maybe smoking a cigar. He cuts your hair in about 5 minutes and sends you on your way.
Yeah. Yeah. And we felt like there was a need for men to have another option besides that, what you just described, or a woman's salon, because not many men want to sit in the middle of a woman's salon either. And the cuts there are like $50-$60. So we have like a moderate price range, and you get a luxury experience, and people went crazy for it because they needed it. Men like to be pampered too, especially in Long Island. but I think it's catching on to other areas.
You know, there's nothing wrong with a little pampering, male or female. So
Yeah, and the beards took off. You know, beards came back several years ago, and they haven't gone away. And that takes a lot of manicuring and you know, dedication and upkeep.
So there are some finely manicured beards I've seen out there. So I haven't gone that long enough route yet. So let's talk about the book, because you know your book's out. Pivot and Slay. There you go. It is on Amazon.
Yes, it is.
So what drew you to write a book? You know,
Thomas inspired me to write a book. Actually, when I met him, I love to write. I've always loved to write. It's part of the reason I became a lawyer. And then I thought, hey, I'm pretty good at this, and I have an interesting story to tell, and I feel like it could help people, because the pandemic made everyone reevaluate their life, and everyone kind of had to overcome something, you know, whether it was job loss of a family member, or just, you know, adjusting to being at home with the family all the time. So I felt like an opportune moment, because a lot of people can relate to the constant flow of life. And I learned a lot about myself from writing a book, I have to say, because I think there were some moments in my life I didn't necessarily register as a pivot, but they clearly are now when I look back on them, and I'm you know, writing it. So I think it was such a great experience. I learned a lot about myself, and I've gotten really good feedback. I think it's a topic that many people can relate to. I'm pretty raw about it. You know, I think one thing people don't necessarily talk about enough on social media, especially, is when they don't win. And I'm pretty open about my losses, you know, the things where I've struggled, or I've made a mistake, or I didn't do the best that I could have. And I think people relate to that, because they're like, oh man, she's real, she's authentic, and, you know, she makes mistakes, even up to last year, you know, like. And I think it's something that is missing from social media. We live in this world where everyone puts up all the great stuff they do, and no one talks about the struggles that it takes to get there. And anyone who tells you they haven't struggled is just lying.
Yeah, no doubt, because, well, it's like you said before, not every day is going to be perfectly balanced. And, you know, every new adventure has its challenges. And I've talked about with other people about all the pivots that I've seen. You know, I've made my own pivots in my life where I walked away from, you know, a 19-year career in public safety to do something else, because quite frankly, I was burnt out, done. I was done with the work. I'd seen a lot in 25 years. I saw a lot. And so it was time to do something else, and the right opportunity presented itself, and it was time to jump off that cliff without a parachute. And it's scary. It's scary as hell. But a lot of times those are the most I find that it's the most rewarding is taking that chance, because the reward is worth the risk sometimes. You know, I was saying it the other day, if it doesn't hurt you financially or physically, it may be worth doing. And I find a lot of value in that. So that's super cool.
Thank you. I wanted to give people not just my story. You know, it wasn't just storytelling for storytelling's sake. Like, I wanted people to understand how I made the decisions that I did, how I gained the confidence to start taking these risks and making these moves, and how they panned out. And sometimes they were a flop and sometimes not. But I wanted people to walk away with like tangible ways that they could start changing their mindset. And anything I put in there is stuff I did myself. So, and I didn't read a book to do it. I just kind of like followed my gut, and this is where it took me. And if I could save someone else and shave off a couple of years of heartache for them and soul searching, I want to do it. I want to give people the tools they need to get there faster than I did.
Right. No, that's great. And that's, you know, there's just something about trying to bring value to other people and give them that insight, and, you know, learn from, you know, one of those things of learn from my mistakes, learn where I messed up. And it's just, that's just super cool to be able to do and to put it in writing, because I've thought about, what it's like to write a book, but I have it like, if we sit here and have a conversation, I could draw firehouse stories out of my head in a New York second. But if I were to go and try to write them down or remember, it complete block.
Well, you're in luck because technology is here to help you, right? You could record your voice and tell a story and have it transcribed and then edit it into a book. You don't have to sit there typing the whole thing out. So you're in luck. See, you should write it. Maybe this is the universe giving you a message here.
It could be, it's funny because my wife laughs at me because I probably told her all kinds of fire, and she's not from that world, so she just kind of goes along with it. She doesn't get it. But I've told firehouse story or fire incident story time and time again, and it's like it happened yesterday. But you're right. It's one of those things where maybe use technology and kind of just tell the story and go with it. And I think you inspired me on that one.
Yay. All right. My job's done.
There you go. So any new projects on the horizon?
Always. So I just dropped my, my Pivot Your Mind workshop. So that's on my website. You can find everything on pivotandslay.com, but it's basically like a 5-week workshop that you do at your own pace to help you develop the skills you need to do mindset work and start getting in the right frame of mind. And it's for, really, it's for anybody, but it's specifically business driven too, for those of us who are struggling in business. Excuse me. I have another book I'm writing that's coming out later this year about what to expect in the first 12 months of business. And I'm doing a parallel course for that, which will be dropping soon. I'm already almost done with that course.
Oh, wow.
So that's what you have to expect from me. I have a lot of speaking engagements coming up, and you're just going to keep seeing my face everywhere, because that is my goal, to keep popping up on your newsfeed and making you smile and inspiring you to push yourself a little bit further.
That's awesome. Well, Jessica, I really appreciate you taking the time and joining me here on the podcast. What's the best way for people to connect with you?
You can find everything for me on pivotandslay.com. It has my social media, has a way to contact me, reach out, has anything I offers on there. It's just, it's the best way to get a hold of me. So please reach out. I'd love to hear from you.
That's great. And Jessica has permanent residence on Instagram. I can account to that. So if you want to check her out on Instagram, a lot of great content that she puts out each and every day. So again, thank you very much for inspiring and educating and doing what you do. And I'd love to have you on again sometime real soon as the other book comes out. I'm
here when you want me.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, Jessica. You have a good day, everybody. If we would drop a comment, hit the like button. Let us know what you think of this episode. This is the At the Coffee Table podcast, where we sit down and talk about just about anything and everything, and hopefully come up with a solution or two. So with that, everybody, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and have a great day.